All right, thank you, Chris. He's deferred to me to go ahead and open it up here. I want to thank Chris Lally for being the only other candidate who showed up today. And I would be remiss. You go ahead and clap. I would clap for him too. I'd be remiss to say that I'm not irritated, disappointed. Just a quick rundown of why I'm running for office here. I was under the impression when I moved my family and my business out here 7 years ago that we were going to have principled, small government, live and let live, free market, prize of individual liberty type government. And sadly, I think I was mistaken. I left a bigger city where I was born and raised to find a new place that is on the same track as a city that I fled from. And our public officials are not doing enough. Case in point is that they're not here right now. I don't believe that any of these seats belong to anybody. Any candidate in elected office, that's your seat. That's my seat. We the voters, we the people, they get the privilege to sit in these seats. And there's no rule, there's no underlying kindness that we have to afford them to allow them to keep running roughshod over us term after term. And I think this is your chance to go ahead and be very assertive with your vote. When I grew up, I was often told that politics and religion and stuff like that, don't talk about that at the dinner table. Well, fast forward now decades and look where we are everywhere in this entire country. It's because we didn't have honest conversations at the dinner table. It's because neighbors didn't want to be impolite and talk to one another and let them know who they think they should vote for, who the good candidates are. And oftentimes the government that we get is what we deserve. We deserve a lot better. So I think everybody in this room, me included, every chance you get, like fight for what's good, fight for the good candidates. There were some out here today. Make a note of who showed up and who didn't, who engaged you in thoughtful conversation and who didn't, and back and support those candidates. My time is almost up. I appreciate everybody for coming out here in the heat wave. God bless you all, and I hope we have a nice, robust debate, and I hope you ask some tough questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. In an ideal world, Matt and I would be both getting this position because we clearly share a lot of the same principles. My wife, Tina, and I moved to Nevada about 10 years ago. We came from Washington State, a town about 10,000 people called Yelm, Washington. I don't know if anyone knows it. It's not too far from Olympia, the capital. And it was kind of jarring. First we moved to Las Vegas. We lived there for a few years, and then we did not like that. We thought we wanted the city. We didn't. So we moved out to Pahrump here, and we really wanted to do it because it was affordable. It was our first thing. We have 3 young children, and we couldn't afford what Vegas was offering. And we loved the small town feel of Yelm. My in-laws had a property there, and we had the pleasure of helping them with their horses and so forth. It was just a really nice life. And so we thought, as soon as, in fact, my in-laws moved down from there as well to Pahrump as well. And we all live here now. And we really like it. We really do. And I want to say we want to love it. But that's why I'm running. It's because we're not getting enough bang for our buck, folks. We should be getting more for what we're paying. In District 5, I know some of you have heard me say these numbers, but this is where we are, okay? We're roughly 12 to 15,000 strong in District 5, okay? We provide the vast majority of the tax revenue for the entire county just in our district. Do we have a park? No. Do we have a little urgent care? No. Do we want it to be all built up? No. That's not why any of us moved here. I'm a real estate agent. I have clients who move here from all over the country, and I hear the same thing. If we wanted to live in Vegas, we would have stayed in Vegas, and other folks would have too. So we want to get more for our money, and we're not getting it now, and that's just not right. So please help me change this district for the better.
All right, we're going to open it up to questions from the floor. Please come on up here. We don't want to walk in front of the cameras here. Spell your last name for the record because we've got press here. And what you're going to do is ask the question, and both candidates will get a chance to respond.
Okay, thank you. Hi there, Cindy Lake, Lake. I'm also a real estate agent.
Nice. Hi.
Property rights is my issue, so this will go to you first, Chris, but
Nice.
both of you.
Okay.
We just got done with a rally on 160 and 372 regarding the zombie lots. Are you familiar?
I am, yes.
Okay, so as commissioner, what would you guys do about that issue?
So the zombie
Thank you.
lots, I don't think a lot of people know about this because I had to educate myself as well. So I'm always of the mind that if I didn't know, and it's not that I know everything by far, certainly not, but if I don't know, then chances are other people don't know because I'm in the real estate business and the industry. But I had to educate myself, and the zombie lot situation is a bum deal. People who bought those properties got a bad deal from somebody or a group, and it's not an easy solve. So those who don't know, it's not just as easy as adding a septic and a well to those little properties, those little slices of quarter acre or what have you, because there are safety issues involved with having a well and septic so close together on a piece of property, on a slice of property. So what is the solution? I don't have an absolute solution. I would want to poll residents and find out what people who own those properties want to do. The main thing there, though, step one is actually having your voices heard, isn't it? So, because I'm always going to be professional here, but I've heard that a lot of you folks are being dismissed because this is a long, outstanding issue. This is not something that just came up yesterday, and so why is it not being discussed? You know, there are a lot of people who are affected by it. I don't have the answer. I just know that it's not being given due time. And a lot of folks, got a bum deal, as I say. So I think there may be a solution there, but we need to explore it as a community.
Yeah, this issue is, here's what I don't like, is our public officials, they're not all powerful with this issue. I get it, what they say when it comes to state law, state regulation, sanitation rules that are forced upon all residents in the state of Nevada. And until those laws get changed, I get it, certain things cannot happen on those lots. With that said, though, this kicking the can down the road and not doing whatever they can with adjusting zoning so that people can reasonably use these lots. Now, maybe, but it would be something if they can allow you to use your lots, whether it be seasonally. There's things that they can do to change the code that they refuse to do. They refuse to change certain zoning. They have the power to do that. What they need is the fortitude to go up against certain special interests. And I know this because I talk to a lot of people in this town. I've been approached by people in this town who might think that I have a chance to be one of the next county commissioners. And there's a lot of money dialed up in these races and in these communities. And there's very little for most of these other powers that are outside of our community if they allow you to peaceably use your property in a way that doesn't benefit them financially. How do they benefit financially? Starting more projects, the county benefits, they get kind of fall in love with impact fees and all the different revenue that comes from selling a $400,000 starter home. Folks, that's where we're at now with new construction. So I get the frustration out here where you want to use your property, even if a step in the right direction might be to use it seasonally, to park an RV on there, to be responsible, to have a very low encumbered permit that you can use your property as a starting point. And then eventually we work our way up from there. You got to ask yourself, do our county officials do everything in their power before they can go ahead and put the blame on the state of Nevada and the state laws? And the answer to that is no. We all know that's no. And I've been to meeting after meeting. I see your frustration. I think they look right through you, right over me, right through me. And it's time that changes. And it's going to change one commissioner at a time. I think I'm out of time with that question, but appreciate you.
Your name? Please spell your last name.
I feel like I'm at BOCC. Lorraine Gilbert, Gilbert, the face of the zombie lot owners. As one of the 7,000 who have talked over and over and over again about alternatives, we're told, no, it's a state issue. Then the state and end up say, no, it's a Pahrump issue. You got to go to Pahrump. We have said for the last year, if the ground doesn't match the zoning, then the zoning can't be there. We have brought more and more and more and more options of what Boulder is doing, what not, or what feeling about it is doing. Person County, examples of what can be done. We get the rolled eyes, we get the walk out the door. So my question to you, what is your take on fixing this? We're not asking for excuses anymore. How would you, as our commissioner, represent those property owners to give them value to their property?
Yeah, I think that the first order of business is changing the zoning. It's changing the zoning to maximize the usage, the peaceable usage of your property to the maximum extent that would be allowable by law. That forms the foundation of it. And then we press the state laws to be changed further. But there are ways right now that they can actually change. And you're right, they can see this in other jurisdictions, other counties, other areas, other states that have other, similar laws to ours. Now, maybe it's hard once the gears of the state legislature gets going, but there's so much that they can do right now with just changing the actual zoning. They don't have the fortitude. And the problem is they're not paying a political price for their inaction. And it starts with what you guys are doing. It starts with what we're doing. It starts with me, blabbing about it on Facebook. As long as I'm not being in Facebook jail, like some of us are here, the more vocal you are about certain issues, the more you get cracked down on. I think, honestly, the commissioners have to pay a political price for doing this. And it has to be more than the public comment, because I think oftentimes I feel your pain. They're waiting you out. They're just dealing with you talking. It's a burden to them. They're playing Candy Crush on their laptops. They're getting up for 17 bathroom breaks like they're my 80-plus-year-old dad. I don't understand why they don't give us the decorum that we deserve, but it has to change up there. And I think this issue, because there's no instant benefit for them, they're kicking the can down the road and they want to blame the state. And the state does have some onus here, but trust me, if they change zoning the way that they can, you would be able to at least start using it. Right now, you cannot use your property practically at all. Nothing. You're right. And I appreciate your question.
I just want to add to that. I completely concur. It's a zoning issue that shouldn't be very hard to change. And they are doing exactly that. They are waiting you out. So it's a major disrespect to those of you. And I feel for you, because nobody wants to lose money. Nobody wants to throw their money away. You all were promised, some sort of promise in terms of usage, et cetera. And I completely agree with Matt. It's just an issue that has to be given its due, and it's not being given its due. And it's not hard just because there's no benefit to them. It's just, you guys how many are there? Do you know how many folks have zombie lots? 7,000 lots. It's a huge amount of money. Yeah. So it's exactly what Matt said. They're ignoring it. It doesn't need to be ignored. In fact, it would, if you want to think about it, they would even benefit politically from it, right? I'm starting to think like this, like a politician, like they would benefit politically, and they're still not doing it. So they're just not caring. They need to care. So I would absolutely, if not Matt, I would absolutely do it. Would take that on and help you, because you are a strong group. That's a big group. So it just needs your attention. Thank you.
Again, I'll take just a quick follow-up. I just want to also say that Andrew also has a microphone, so I don't know if it's easier for him to stay over here, and then we can start maybe two lines to ask questions, or if it's better over on that side, Andrew. I'm not sure, but either way, he's in case you needed to step in as the moderator and chin check us. We want to keep that open for you. But anyway, yeah, at the tune of $7 million a year, right, in tax revenue. But if they were able to allow you to develop your lots somewhat, they could, in the long run, be increasing the tax base by levying a slightly higher tax, which I'm personally against, as far as being a taxpayer protection pledge signer. So what I recommend is, I think that most owners of those lots have actually spent more than their fair share in taxes on something that they can't use. This is like my gym membership at LVAC in the late 90s. I kept it going because I just wasn't using it for some reason. I just kept paying and paying and paying. And that's how I feel you guys don't want to keep paying, but you're compelled at the point of a gun. Otherwise, you would lose your property if you don't pay, and that's not right.
Thank you. Sir, what is your name?
Yes, my name is Bill Hochstedler. For the record, it's spelled Hockstedler. My question for both commissioners is I'd like to get your opinions and feelings on the information that I've received recently that commissioners are planning on doing more appointments and actually taking power away from the voters, and some elections will be not available to the public to vote on anymore. For example, the race that I'm in for public administrator, this might be the last 4 years for a public administrator in Nye County. Now the county commissioners want to either appoint that position or make it a hired position, which means that the voters don't have the power to choose who it'll be. It'll be nepotism. It'll be their friends and relatives in those positions, either appointed or hired. And I think that takes power away from the citizens. I'd like to get your opinions on both of that. Should you be successful as a commissioner?
First time hearing about that, but I'm not a fan. I think those are positions that should be electable, and not a fan of cronyism and nepotism. I've heard whispers of that's why our government is so bloated, or that we have too many folks who know each other who are working in different departments. I can't even speak to that truly, but if that's the case, it's not helpful. I'm a fan of small government, especially if it's effective. If it's not effective, then we add to it, but we cross those bridges when we get there. We're still a democracy, and I think those positions should be voted on by the people. Straight. It's a very easy answer for me. Yeah.
Yes, I don't believe the public administrator position should ever be one that is appointed or hired out as a separate employee type position. I think the more input we have in our constitutional republic, the better that we are going to be. The issue that if you've been here for a few years, several years at least, you've seen some appointments, and now whether these appointments led to the actual appointment of somebody who was a good person or a bad person, good at their job, bad at their job, that's not really the crux of the issue. The issue is the process by which we get these high-level positions filled. We had one position that took months and months and months to be appointed on, and the can just kept getting kicked down the road. The process was very transparently unfair. The most qualified person for that job did not get the appointment. We're still now experiencing some repercussions from that. Even though this person, I think, that got appointed to that position ultimately won a re-election, has done a very good job, and I get along with that person when I'm dealing with them in the government sphere. That's not the point. The point is the process has to be correct, because if you accidentally do a poor process and get a good outcome, the next time your process is poor, you could wind up in some severe trouble. And you always err on the side of giving the people that you represent more power. The best government is as local as you can keep it, and even more local than the commission making decisions. It's the people voting on their own in their own households. The most important political unit there is in this entire country is just the family unit in your own home. And we want to empower you to make your decisions and not live your life for you. You live your life for you.
Candidates, any rebuttal? Seeing none?
Good. Thank you. I agree.
Hello, Susie Hertz, Hertz. My question ties into the comment and the question that was just made. There, in my opinion, from my observations of attending BOCC meetings for the last several years, is that who's really running the government are the staff, not the elected officials. They are the ones who set the agendas. They are the ones who have the pencil to knock things out of the agenda up to the last minute, including in front of the meetings. And they're the ones who are making decisions about things like code compliance and the planning department. Those are the staff people who are affecting people's lives, not our commissioners. Our commissioners, in my opinion, don't spend enough time at their jobs.
Yeah.
What will you do to make the commissioners the acting arm of our commission functions instead of the staff?
Yeah, I'll take that question first. I guess it's my turn. Yeah. Case in point of what you were saying, and I think this parallels exactly what you're saying. They rely on their staff, and sometimes they rely on department heads to give presentations at these meetings. And it's evident, especially for someone like you, because I see when I'm watching, I see you on TV there, and I see you asking the questions when I'm watching from my job. Is that you'll see they're not reading the backup. The clearest example of that was when they voted in the dump fees. Everybody fixated on $5 a year per assessment, including our current commissioner in District 5, actually making fun of people out in the gallery and in the public. If you can't afford a $5 assessment, I feel really sorry for you. And it's like, that was one component. And yeah, would I have voted against it based upon that? Yes, because I don't believe in raising fees and taxes. But beyond that, were the tipping fees, and I could tell that every commissioner, even the commissioners that ended up voting against it, I don't think they read the backup. They relied on a presentation from a department head. They rely on their staff direction and their staff recommendations, just like you said. But the buck has to stop with them. There's time and a place to have an assistant help you with things, and then there's a time and a place where you have to do the work as a commissioner. You make two meetings, like you said, 2 meetings a month is all they do. 2 meetings a month. They just got a raise of roughly $9,000 a year. Now, granted, the state legislature directed counties to raise their rates. They could have opposed it. They didn't. They took the raise. With that raise, it seems like we're paying more. They're getting more. We're getting less. That's the same thing we see when we go to the grocery store, to the restaurant. You pay more, you get less. We're paying our commissioners more money. They're paying them 30% more raises. How many in this room received a 30% raise at their job or their pension or anything in 1 year? You didn't. These people did, and it seems like they're doing less and less work. And as a commissioner, you have to get up there, and you have to actually, rather than being on the same page, I always want to talk about teamwork. When I see that, it's them against us. I want them to kind of duke it out together and make that board better, and I'm not seeing enough of it up there.
Yeah, I don't see them working for us. Matt brings up a good point that, they raise their own salaries, and that's terrific for them. But did you know, for example, our firefighters in Pahrump, we obviously are the biggest city in the county, right, by far, and or rather town, and our firefighters receive the same amount of funding as every other firefighter group in the county. So in every other town, so it's all equally distributed. Now, how does that make sense? So that's just a small example, yet not so small, because our firefighters are a crucial part of our public services, and they're incredibly underfunded. But boy, did they make sure they got their raise, didn't they? So I see self-serving. I can't speak to how much their administrators do versus them, but I feel like the lack of output is telling in and of itself. We're here for District 5. What do we have to show for it? As one of the main tax, sources of tax revenue for the county. We're getting nothing in return. And they, like Matt said, they show up twice a month. That's terrific. I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but I'm not seeing evidence of it. If the current commissioner of District 5, or any district for that matter, is really doing a bang-up job that everybody should be proud of, then they should certainly be proud of it, and they should be bragging about that on social media. Don't you think? Doesn't everybody, if you were doing a good job and you're in public service, right? We're here to serve you guys. It's not vice versa. You're not here to serve us. Matt and I are interested in serving the community, right? And so where is that? Where is that service? I'm not getting anything back. And I hear it all the time from everybody I go around and speak to. Everybody feels the same that I speak to. It's very rarely that I don't get that answer. So I would like to see more examples of them actually serving the community, period.
Thank you. Thank you. What is your name, sir?
Kenyon Salzer, Salzer. I don't know if this is a question for you guys or not, but what can you guys do about our taxes for our home? Because I just looked at my taxes. I'm paying something OC Gen, $657. What the hell is OC Gen? And I got another one. I got another one in there that I'm paying like $60 to liberal funding. What the hell is that?
Library funding.
Library. OC Gen, general account, maybe? I don't know. But that's kind of, honestly, it's interesting because that's really what we're talking about overall here, right? We're talking about a lack of transparency, right? Do you know how many folks I've spoken to or texted with on apps about asking them if they know their commissioner is and which district they're in? Very few, unless you're super connected to the community. So it's a problem. It's a bigger problem we're talking about here. We're not just talking about what you're saying, but you're talking about transparency. You're talking about, having people communicate with you the ins and outs of what it's like to be a citizen here. Right?
Right. Yeah. Well, we moved here in April from California.
Oh, right on. Okay.
I'm used to paying $8,000 a year for house tax.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is, I pay more here for my vehicles than I did in California.
Shocking. That's shocking.
We need to lower these taxes here. I don't know if you guys can help or not. Can you?
We would be one of 5 people making that decision, right? Or working on that. We may have to work with the state more closely, but if we do have that power, I have little doubt that we're both on the same page here in terms of not wanting to raise taxes. Because if we are, why would we raise taxes when we're not even using the money that we're receiving right now efficiently, right? So neither of us, I can speak for Matt, I just heard him say it anyway, neither of us wants to raise taxes. There are too many creative ways for this county to make money that we're not making money with. There are, my God, every other city and town charges new builders, impact fees. They charge the people who buy houses in those communities assessment fees, ongoing assessment fees. So why aren't we tapping into that? Why aren't we leasing land to whoever that then benefits us? Not solar stuff. And if we do solar stuff, why aren't we getting some of that power?
Yeah, I'll just chime in with this. I'm not sure about the fee that you're talking about. What I have been seeing here, and this might be unique to our county, and just keep in mind, there were treasurer candidates out here. I don't know if they're in the building right now, the county treasurer candidates. But I think, honestly, we do need increased transparency within what our treasurer's budget is, and to kind of outline what exactly the assessments are for. Because I was shocked to find out how much money I pay for the library out here too. When I look at my tax bill, I'm thinking I spend an exponential amount of money on education for schools and for something like that. And also, I just realized the last year or so, I got bumped up to a higher tax rate. So you got to keep that in mind out there when you get your little things that put you down for no longer owner occupied, and I was paying a higher tax rate and not the 3% cap. So I think oftentimes these meetings, these county commission meetings, I hate to say it, but it's like you have to be prepared for a marathon of extreme boredom anytime you try to tune into these meetings. When you go there, there's times when you just want that thing to wrap up, and a few of the commissioners, and God forbid I end up being one of them one day, but just start going off the rails and falling in love with their own voice. And it's like, you just want to get it going. You came back and they wait you out, and after lunch is when they're putting these items up there. And I think that whole culture has to stop there. I think the extended lunch breaks and all these breaks for this and special session for that. Do your special session later on after you boot everybody out. Don't hog everybody's time up. Oftentimes they get to the meat and potatoes of why you're there, and they move the agenda around to 3:00. And it's just really super aggravating as a consumer, as a resident, to be looking at that. But ultimately, to not meander away from your question, that is worth looking into. I pay a much higher tax rate here than I did in Las Vegas, and we're getting a lot less for our money. So I'll stop it at that.
Thank you. Step up, please, sir. Sure. What is your name?
My name is Roy Sledaha. I go by Roy Russell. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roy Russell, and I run a small podcast called RadioLV.com. I'm working on something called Pahrump.radio.com coming soon. And I have 4 comments. I'm not really super politically connected, but I live down the street here since 6 years, and I'd like to focus on some issues that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And it's just One is about noise enforcement. These certain individuals, I never saw it anywhere else where I've lived all over the world. Not exactly. And uncorked mufflers, and they just don't enforce these. It's a law in Nye County where you can't run an uncorked car, and I see them daily. And I just like this one matter. The second issue is those off-road vehicles. They like to cruise around, and I don't know what their story is, but they're always blowing up dust everywhere. Third issue I like to bring up is vagrants. I'm being polite by that name. This might not be a good example, but if you drive to Beverly Hills, California, you're not going to see a single vagrant. And I'd like to see it that way here. Maybe I'm a arrogant SOB, but I'm sorry. There's a certain way to handle that situation. And certain, communities in America, they know how to handle it, because talking about Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, maybe South Beach in Florida. Anyway, that's just a comment there. And the third is everyone can take care of this. There's a hotline. Okay,
limit yours to a question.
Okay, these are comments. I'd like you to. These are questions. These are items I'd like you to address. The third one is probably worse. Is potholes. There is a number. It's a link on the Nye County website. Now, everyone should go there and report your potholes. And can you do anything about potholes? That's probably one of my more major concerns, because it could take my car out. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, so to kind of encapsulate what you were saying, noise ordinance issues, dust issues from individuals, vagrancy issues. I guess address certain things like in a backwards order. It's not illegal to be homeless. We need to, one thing we can do, if you consider homelessness to be a problem, I consider homelessness and people that are down on their luck for a time to be, it's a human condition, and it requires a human response. I know some of the people sitting on the board right now don't quite share that same sentiment, and I'm no less. I'm still absolutely conservative, and you can still have a heart and be conservative. What we have to stop doing as a community is maybe stop being a magnet toward programs that might give people outside of our community the idea that if you're down on your luck, if you need government dependence, come move here. We'll take care of you. We have all these programs. If we stop focusing so much on certain kind of grant monies and opportunities to where people will be indirectly magnetizing people to come to our community, and then they get here and oftentimes they're stuck and then become dependent on our community. But the answer is not, in my opinion, ever to run somebody into any different area, to criminalize being homeless. That's nothing that I'll ever be supporting. I'm never going to put people on blast. I'm not going to run around with a camera and take pictures of people down on their luck, passed out on the sidewalk on what could be the worst day of their life to gain political points or get people scared and fearmonger. I'll never do that. And as far as my mentality for living out here, it's a give and take, Roy, in my opinion. You give certain allowances for certain freedoms. So I want to come here and be more free and live and let live. I'm going to have to deal with a little more dust. I'm going to have to deal with my neighbors maybe starting projects a little earlier in the morning with their heavy equipment. And I think above all, until they step into the line where they're committing a crime that's in the NRS, I say we got to live and let live.
So you had a few issues there, I hear. I'm aligned with Matt on a lot of that. I do think one of the solutions could be more regular communication with the community. So you may, chances are you're not alone in being frustrated about the noise and the dust. I'd like to see how many others are feeling that same way, because maybe it's concentrated to a certain area. As Matt said, they are free. We're in the rural area, so they're going to use those things. They can't use the razors in town in Vegas, or if they can, they are doing it illegally. So it's, maybe the ideas of a designated area are something to be explored. But the main thing is that we have groups like this today talking about these issues instead of it being the Matt Sadler show or the Chris Lally show or the whoever show when it comes to the commissioners. We should be talking about this stuff as a community. right? That's a big problem with like the fairgrounds discussion. People are digging so deep into what all is involved there, and really nobody can speak with confidence and certainty as to really what is going on, and that's a problem, and that's called a lack of communication. So to me, a lot of the issues that gentleman just brought up are something that we should talk about as a community, because I am not going to tell other people not to use their razors. I do think noise ordinances, can be a problem because they're affecting other people. And in my estimation, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And so we have to be extremely careful with how we approach those things, right? We enjoy our freedom out here. It's very different. We're not a city. So we may have to make some adjustments. The homeless issue is, I only have 5 seconds. The homeless issue is so big. Again, that is a community discussion. That is not Chris Lally saying, I solved homelessness. We need to talk. We need to talk more. And you guys need to be heard about those issues.
Welcome to the town hall. Please state your name.
Nanette Markham. Nanette Markham. ATL.
Oh,
Good afternoon. I'm wondering what your top 3 concerns are in Pahrump and how you will address them.
So in all of Pahrump, okay, well, I'm a problem solver. That's how I look at my life, my thing, the way I approach my life, because I'm a real estate agent and I'm always trying to figure out how to match people to a property that they want to buy and have their dream home as much as they can afford. So my whole thing is problem solving. And to me, the number one issue that I hear from other people is infrastructure. So even though I live in an HOA, that's my choice. I chose to live there because we get a pool for the money we spent, and I have little boys and I want them to cool off. Other people don't have that benefit. They don't have roads that are pretty. And number one, I think right now is that basic infrastructure is crumbling. They're not spending regularly budgeted maintenance money on that. We are having folks getting hit on the side of the road because they need to go grab something from the corner store at night and they want to walk there. They don't want to, or they can't afford a car. So we maybe need some low-level, lighting of some kind that doesn't interrupt our beautiful skies or night skies, because that's a huge thing for us. My wife and I love that. And I'm sure a lot of other folks do too. But we need to keep things safe in terms of the roads, because we're either going to pay for it up front or you guys are going to pay for it at the garages, right? So we need to take care of the basic infrastructure first, and then we need to focus on, I'm focused on my district. I can't tell Ian Bain what to do with his district. I don't know if you all know that. I can't really do that. Can I make suggestions? Probably. We can probably have an adult conversation. How receptive he is to that, I don't know. But I will say we're lacking a decent public pool. We have friends whose teenage kids work there in the summertime, and they're threatened by homeless folks or, unhoused, whatever people say these days. And that's not cool. We can do better with our services to the rest of the town. We need a better public pool. So I'd say roads and infrastructure and, shared public services like the pool for now.
Yeah. In no particular order, I guess. Right off the bat, I'll go with something easy to the more difficult. So probably the easiest fix I would get in there and do, and I know some commissioners now are finally getting rumblings about it, is to not only restore the dump fee issue back to the way it was before they voted poorly against it, but also then to go ahead and say, look, we have to shore up our dump. We do. It is reaching a point in years from now we're going to reach some capacity. So we're going to have to pretty much outlaw out of the jurisdiction dumping in our dump. And if we're talking about wear and tear on our roads, if people are traveling here with heavy vehicles from other jurisdictions, putting wear and tear on our roads, using our dump, even if they're paying a nominal fee, two things bad are happening. Our infrastructure is getting worse for it, and we're filling up the dump even faster. And I think that would be an easy fix. I think the commissioners realize now they have an egg on their face. I think they wish they could just go ahead and roll all that stuff back, but be expecting them to make changes slowly and surely, but we have to keep the pressure on them with that. Next option, more difficult thing that we have to secure is the funding that's necessary to make sure that we have enough Nye County Sheriff's officers out here in our communities. Right now, we have an average of about 1.5 per 1,000 residents. The normal average for rural counties in Nevada, so not counting Washoe and counting Clark, is more like 2.6. That's a huge underrepresentation for our county. And you compound that with the fact that we are one of the biggest counties in the entire nation. That means we have less per resident and we have a much broader span. We have 1,300 miles roughly of county maintained roads, not counting Highway 160 and 372, that need to be maintained. We need to let the outside world know. If we want different, we all want different things here. We need to let them know Nye County is open for business. Get the roads better, get the infrastructure better, get public safety better. Businesses will come out here and compete and give you the services that you want. The government should not be picking winners and losers.
Rebuttal.
I agree. We're not exploring, like, the dump issue is interesting. He's totally right. People are coming here from out of area and they're, heavy vehicles and they're, ruining our roads, helping to ruin the roads. They should be paying way more. I think seniors should be free, frankly. And I think they should allow, because I don't know if folks know that household trash is still doesn't require a fee, right? It's only bigger items like mattresses and so on. And I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying there's something to look into online. But I think we could handle that whole situation way better than just them making the decisions for us. Why didn't they get our input? Why didn't they ask us? We have a lot of seniors here. Why should they have to pay more for that? They're already on fixed budgets. It doesn't make sense to me.
Matt, rebuttal.
Yeah, just one quick rebuttal. And this is just, I hate to keep beating I raise up the dump issue because that to me is the microcosm. It is the example of bad government, and the fact that it's accessible to you right now through Granicus and online, you can view it. I encourage you to do that. To see, if you're going to teach a class on civics, on how not to act as a public official, that agenda item would actually get these kids their grades really super high, because I think they did a terrible job with that. And what our government does is oftentimes they're so drastic with the action that they take. Why didn't they just start with proposing a $5 per year thing, and then maybe at a future meeting decide on this stuff? They hit you in the head with a whirlwind of bad policy, and then they vote on it oftentimes the wrong way.
Thank you for participating. Thank you for your question. Next, welcome to the town hall. Please state your name.
Greetings to both of you. You both seem very qualified. I want to readdress a problem, and that's the homeless. I was homeless for 14 years, so I understand the issues, some of the issues, not all of them. But there was one of the county commissioners who got $35,000 to remove all of the homeless shelters, the old trailers, the old RVs, and they're at the dump. There's nothing that can be done with those because of the environmental hazard, the leaching of all of the bad chemicals that are in those old trailers into our soil and our water supply. There are companies.
Can you please ask a question?
I am.
Thank you.
There are companies around town who remove those for free. Why wasn't that researched? Rather than spending $35,000 that could better serve the homeless community. Thank you.
It's no question.
Yeah, I guess
You can address the issue, please.
I'll address the issue. Yeah, so the issue would be why waste $35,000 in grant money to start this program, taking off RVs or unsightly, whatever that means, things off people's property, off of private property, which I was wholly against this entire idea. I believe if it's private property, unless there's a crime being committed, I don't think our government officials need to get involved and proactive and start regulating and becoming basically glorified homeowners associations on us residents. I think that was a poor thing. Nothing's free. They say that this was a free grant. Some taxpayer in some other state paid for it. There's no such thing as free money anyway. As far as why they did it that way, I believe they probably did it due to legalities having to do with VIN numbers and vehicle registration or DMV type rules. But all we're doing when our government makes those decisions that they're going to go on private property and remove what they deem to be unsightly and go take it or store it or destroy it, they're leaving them, the government's leaving you and me as a taxpayer liable for tons of liability when it comes to that anyway. I believe my mantra is always live and let live. And if you're in doubt about some kind of property, you should always err on the side of freedom and someone's personal property rights. Maybe we notify the owners of that property and let them know about it. But ultimately, the homeowners and the property owners have to take the onus on their own. I think that's a clear case of government overreach and not using money to actually help people, but just to help individual politicians boost their name up.
I agree. I think it's an easy way for some politicians to score political points, but keep the government out of our business. The only tiny caveat I have is that if it crosses the line over to safety, health and safety, because that should be everybody's concern. It's not to be dramatic, but your history, we've had plagues before, right? Now, that's not a broad brush, though. We're talking about fine brushwork here. But otherwise, 100% agree. Why would they get involved in your property? You paid for it. Your neighbor knows that when they bought there was no HOA. They can't play dumb. And so y'all agreed, right? But I think really to me, it's almost a street by street thing. If you are all happy with everybody and there's no vermin and there's no, nothing crazy, because I've spoken to a lot of folks and I've helped a lot of folks buy properties in non-HOA, mainly non-HOA, and they're happy. That's what they're happy about. They want to, they want to live in that type of property and not have the government or have an HOA board tell you what color house you're going to paint it or how tall the grass is. It's okay to have long grass. It's if it starts infringing on your neighbor in a negative way, right? Because we're all in this together. This is a community. Again, the rights of the many outweigh the rights of the few. That's the truth. But like I said, that's not the government's job to regulate. That just doesn't make sense to me. That's really weird. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And there's not much room for error there. But I think everybody can agree on health and safety being, the parameter. I think that's pretty sensible for human beings.
I look at you. Yeah.
That's okay. I'm kind of blind to this.
Candidates, any rebuttal on this issue? None? Okay, thank you. Please limit your response to a question.
Yeah.
Some background is acceptable, but please, at the end, ask a question.
Welcome to the town hall, sir. Please state your name.
It's Roy Russell. I just have a quick response to what you had talking about. It's I'm talking about noise from cars, not noise from construction. And how are you going to enforce ordinances, regulations, and rules that already exist? And how are you going to do that? Because if they should pull those guys, I don't see them pulling guys over for noisy motorcycles or noisy cars.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question. I hear you. I think when it comes to noise, so that's enforcement, right? Code and enforcement and so forth. Maybe even law enforcement. Those are budgetary issues where we're not prioritizing, right? I mean, just an example to take it away from the noise thing for a second. There's a lot of illegal billboards ruining, the corridor there on 160. Now, most folks have the internet, so I'm not even a huge fan of the billboards anymore anyway in 2026. That's just me. But that's a huge other conversation. But we can at least have code enforcement go after the illegal ones, right? And I feel like they're kind of not really, I don't mean to crap on folks who work in code enforcement because they're probably being told what to do. And maybe their job is, maybe they only have a few of them working in that department and their job is overwhelming. So I can't speak badly about them other than I don't think they're being directed properly in terms of their time usage, right? They're not enforcing things enough. But there has to be some allowance for some of those vehicles. Like, again, we live in a rural area and folks they're allowed to have those vehicles. It's kind of like the fireworks thing, right? I find the fireworks is such an interesting topic to me because they're illegal in Nye County, but we have all these warehouses. So there's an irony there. And I think it's okay because they're bringing a lot of revenue to the town. But why don't we move the little safety pad? That's a bit of a joke. Move it way out to the outskirts and have spots for parking and food trucks and have a big central venue for fireworks shows. We can't have Petrack Park anymore. So why don't we think a little more creatively? And I think those kinds of ideas would come more often to leadership if we had things like town halls and we all discussed things. Because I just came up with that a few weeks ago and I thought, man, that's either a moneymaker or just a cool thing for the community. But either way, we need to think a little more creatively.
So involving the laws that are on the books, ordinances that are on the books, state laws that are on the books, NRS. We can't do anything about the NRS. We can actually have input on ordinances. And I think I always err on the side of, if NRS has already spoken on noise issues at the state level, the last thing I want to do in a county like ours is add more code stuff. We all went through a recent meeting right now, not knowing we've been living in Pahrump under certain maintenance codes and certain building codes that are not appropriate already for our type of community. We shouldn't be subjected to the same types of codes you see in other, more urban cities, more urban counties. And when I hear the word international code, I'm thinking, I don't want this to be like Scandinavia code or whatever it is. This is Nye County. This is rural Nevada. At the end of the day, if there are laws on the books, Roy, I highly encourage NCSO to be enforcing the laws that are on the books. Now, whether that's a county ordinance that's on the books, which is effectively a law, or it's NRS, I highly encourage that. I never encourage lawlessness. If there are laws that are bad, I'm always a champion to change them. And when I change things, I think always erring on the side of more freedom, more choices, and less the government being able to come in here and tell you what is unsightly, what is not, what is good for the community, what is not. I don't think it's their position to have their preferences. So when folks ask me a question like, well, what is my vision for this or vision for that? I don't think you guys are electing us to become the interior decorators of Nye County or of Pahrump. You guys make your own choices better. If you have the freedom to join, buy a home in an HOA, buy a home in an HOA. If you want to buy next to a guy that stores 50 cars, let that be. You can have that choice. And I would always err on the side of more freedom. And I get it. There are certain aggravations. A lot of stuff gets under my skin too. But when you have a philosophy of living and live, you're going to have to live and be a little bit irritated so your freedoms don't erode.
Any rebuttal? Chris?
Not really. I guess I would just repeat what I said before, which is really, I have to go from empirical experience. So folks that I know that I've helped buy on non-HOA properties and who bought very consciously and specifically there, they've had issues with neighbors, but you know what? Most folks are pretty easygoing and they share pretty similar philosophies. So as long as, you're not affecting my life in a negative way, I agree. Live and let live. That's solid.
Okay, my point was unforked motorcycles and unforked fire.
Sure. Understand.
I know. I do.
We'll try to circle back. It's a code enforcement thing, as far as I would imagine, sir. So, right? So it comes down to, I think, staffing and budgets and so on.
Matt, rebuttal.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate. Laws that are on the books, ordinances are on the books, codes that are on the books. While they're on the books, they have to be enforced. Getting codes that are bad off the books is something that we can always work on. But yes, if those codes are on the books, it becomes a law enforcement issue. Just to hopefully answer the question a little bit better for the questioner.
We have time for one more question.
Sir, welcome to the town hall. Please state your name.
Name is Michael David Garcia, Garcia. And I definitely want to give y'all kudos, and I want to try to bring it home when it comes to the Fourth Amendment violations. And I want to bring it somewhere where we can all relate to, and that's man's inherent property, our children.
Mike,
I'm going to the question.
Thank you.
It has to do with the legislative fiat, and I think one of the greatest things we can do with Ian Bain is remind him an ordinance is not a law. But anyhow, when it comes to us as a father, as much as our families mean to us, so basically our legislative fiat, unconstitutional laws, ordinances, and statutes, which there's plenty of, traffic our children. They traffic our parents through probate. I'm on the national stage when it comes to that. And so basically when I'm asking, what would your judiciary responsibility be for the appointments from these judges? Would you step in and would you try to rectify that, or would you duck and hide like our previous administrators?
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate that question, Mike, and I see your frustration. No, yeah, you need to get your thoughts out, and I know certain folks in this room that if you've been to meetings, you see that certain people ask questions, and you can start seeing the commissioners fidgeting and stuff. But it's because they're tough questions and they're good questions. One of the main reasons I have a problem with the appointment process at all is that I think the most expeditious thing to do when there's a vacancy, say in one of the courts, instead of having the commissioners go to some appointment process, we need to have an election as soon as possible. There has to be a special election to fill these roles, or if the position is so vital, they need to make an appointment fast with the most capable justice of the peace there could be there. And sadly, when we had one of our justices pass away, it took months and months before he was replaced. That was an extreme disservice to the community. I still can't get over that one. But yeah, your concerns are completely valid. Now, if I'm elected a commissioner, to further that question, I think making ordinances, I think for every ordinance that's ever passed, they should remove 2. That should be what happens to slow the government down. But to get up there and say, oh, because we have the power to do something, let's just do something. And then you hear in the community, other people say, well, at least this person's doing something. I want my elected officials to do as little as possible. You know who one of my favorite presidents of all time? Calvin Coolidge. Can you name stuff that Calvin Coolidge really did? No, because he did very little. He let people live, and we had the Roaring 20s. We had we were better off as people. I think our government needs to model that. I think we need to slow down the growth of government, and we need self-governance, and that's what you would get if you elect me. Thank you.
To answer your question, I do agree. I think the answer there is our special elections. I think you take care of it right away. You don't let it drag on. You don't waste more taxpayers' money and time. And so I think that's an easy one. And I just think it's been handled poorly in the past, but I would advocate to have it handled much, much quicker. But yeah, folks, I'm a pretty regular guy. I don't have a bunch of businesses. I have a real estate. I'm a real estate agent, rather. I have a real estate license, and we are our own businesses. And I've been spending a lot of time, I guess, wall to wall, the whole 6 years I've been here. I've been problem solving for folks. And so I have a lot of real world experience having to do with real estate, zoning, and so forth. And I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say. I don't have the ego coming into this saying, this is me telling you what to do. Okay? That's not going to happen. It's going to be a lot of me saying, what do you want to do? Because this whole thing is serving the public. We are public servants. This is what we're trying to do. Right? And so I want to hear what you guys think and feel about things. Okay? And then we can come up with what works for us all. But that's how I feel things will get done. Will actually get done. Because right now I'm hearing a lot of folks being ignored, either by phone calls or emails to commissioners not getting returned, commissioners being rude at the BOCC meeting saying, we don't work for you. That was a quote somebody gave me. Not getting any money for our taxes in District 5. We don't have basic amenities. We want to be proud. We do not want to be the dump over the hump, as some people call us, because that's bullshit. And I'm done with it. So thank you.
Gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for participating in District 5 debate. Those of you in the audience, please stick around. We have another group of panel coming up. We have Anthony Greco and Deborah Gaylord-Thomas, District 4. They're going to do a little bit of debating. We've got a couple other things here also. We have Grassroots Conservative, GCON for short. We meet the last Monday of every month. We discuss issues about your community. We hold events that are very similar to what you're hearing tonight, this afternoon. And we welcome everybody to join us in those events. This particular event is for you to ask your candidates questions, and we have District 4 representatives. We want to give them equal time. Gentlemen, thank you for participating. We look forward to additional events with you. Before you leave, one quick closing statement. I want you to pick your most important point that you want to do for District 5.
Okay, real quick. Probably most important point. I mentioned before that the commissioners have received a raise of about 30%, so an average of about $9,000 per year. They've each raised their salaries. I think they need to earn their money for that. What I propose, and what is very unpopular with a few of the existing board members, is a once-a-month town meeting that discusses the town of Pahrump issues only while they are acting as the Pahrump town board. This way, anybody in this room, I personally was very against a new town board. I didn't want to sign that petition, but I understand some people's frustrations in that they feel like maybe their voices aren't being heard when it comes to town issues. I think the least our commission board can do is offer the public that once-a-month meeting at night at the regular building. We discuss, and we could get a lot of business done in about an hour and a half. It's not going to take 6 hours and an hour and a half lunch break. We can get it done. Thank you again for everybody coming. Thank you, Sue Quale, for opening up this bar. It's like the 1700s in here. We got an old American-style, revolutionary bar pub action. Hope you guys have enjoyed the drinks and the food specials and the hospitality. And we hope, and I hope myself to be involved in tons of events like this. So any other groups out there, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats or anybody that's organizing events, please encourage them to get the community involved, because I've had a ball today. And I thank you all for braving the heat with me. God bless you.
Matt, thank you for helping to organize this, and Sue as well. Thank you for letting us use your cool venue. To add to that, because I did mention that idea as well, I'm really very pro communication and transparency, and it's such a tired political line, the transparency thing, but I've communicated to you that I am interested in hearing what you guys want to do with our community. So regular meetings would be super cool. Shortening the BOCC meetings would be even more terrific. Imagine only a 4 or 5 hour meeting and have it be way more productive. And then the third thing is, in the vein of transparency, nobody knows if we are broke or we're flush. And why is that? We all pay taxes. Who pays taxes here? I do. Does anybody know what the hell's going on with our money? No. So what I would like is and I know another candidate of a different district totally agrees with me, and he's going to mention it, but an independent review, a consistent and regular independent review of the county finances is essential. We need to all know where our money, how much money we have, and where the money's going, because I know I would feel a hell of a lot better about everything if we could have that. So that would be a big priority for me. I'm an independent, nonpartisan candidate, for the record. I have no party I am beholden to. Anybody, Republican, Democrat, whatever you are, you can vote for me in November. I will not be primaried. I do not have a party telling me I have to be primaried. Okay? The 4 Republican candidates will be primaried. You will have to choose one in the primaries in June. But I will still be here after June, and I will be here in November. So please, if you don't like your other choice in November, please consider voting for me. Chris Lally, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Matt, for your comments. Your answers to the question.